Hey guys, welcome back to my channel. I just started my vacation, so I hope to actually get a bit of more of a regular video output for the next 2 weeks. And we're starting with the video that I've kind of sort of been hyping, I hope not too much. I'm going to compare my Dimir Zombie deck to the new Innistrad Midnight Hunt Precon. For the record, aside from Will Help the Rock Cleaver, I don't know what's in this deck. I kept spoilers to a minimum. I was very interested in the set. You know, you guys saw me cracking boxes. I am going to have a bundle video. I was not able to get it for this weekend. Work was kind of crazy. I didn't have time to get out to my LGS, but I will be putting up a bundle opening in the next couple of days. So, like I said, I don't know what's quite in here, and to be honest, I'm not sure what to think on first impressions. I'm not sure how I feel about the Decayed Mechanic, and I'm assuming that there's a decent amount of Decayed in here, and the Commander creates Decayed, so like, if a lot of the new stuff is going to be strictly about Decayed, I don't think I'm going to be changing mine up. But I want to see, I want to compare the two, see how mine stacks up in terms of card concept, and so you guys probably already know, many of you probably already know what's in this. Now, spoiler, I did open this earlier. I actually kept all the cards face down, but that's because since I was going to be opening and rifling through the deck a bit, Decayed Zombies, like I was holding the hand with the cleaver, scythe, sickle. I basically sleeved these up for protection purposes, and to be honest, I did it like this. So it was all, you know, it was all done blindly, assuming, I hope I got most of these in order. So, I don't actually know what's in this deck. So it's going to be an interesting blind reveal, but in case you guys already know what's in the deck, I'm going to save that for later. You know, if you want to watch me react to the deck itself, most of you, I imagine, are here to see how mine stacks up. So, Shiny Satin Tower. Got my dice in there. My commander is Decayed Geralf. Now, a lot of people really like the Scarab God as their Dimir Zombie Commander, and I do too. But to be truthfully honest, the reason he's not the commander, and this is huge, is he already has a lot of good recursion. It's hard to get rid of him permanently, and I liked that. So these guys are far less godly. They're mortal. I do like the fact that, you know, you can cast a zombie card from your graveyard. That works really well with Rooftop Storm, which Rooftop Storm is the reason I built the deck. I wasn't really interested in a blue-black zombie deck until I saw that card, and I was like, wow. So, sorry if that created noise. So the reason it's Decayed Geralf, not just for flavor, although I do love these two, it's mostly because the Scarab God can come back easier. It's harder to permanently get rid of him. And Decayed Geralf, I never hear people say Jissa, because it just doesn't sound right. But the reason I like these two is just because it gives them some recursion ability. You know, bounce back to the command zone, stuff like that. The Scarab God, once he's in my hand, it's hard for people to permanently get rid of him. These two would be far more mortal. And again, casting spells from the graveyard, that's what this deck wants to do. Sorry, Lily. Speaking of Liliana, oh, I did my lands first. Oopsies. Now, this is kind of not one of my bigger budget decks because, you know, I have a lot. So my mana base isn't going to be as crazy optimized as others, and, you know, this will be improved over time. So start with Command Tower, you know, obvious reasons. Watery Grave, Shockland, of course. Tainted Isle, there's enough black mana that this just works. You know, everybody knows by now I'm a Torment guy, so I love using these when I can. Underground River, classic Painland, good for Commander. Drowned Catacombs, I like these things. Darkwater Catacombs, I always hated them for the longest time. I never really noticed. Where's the filter? I'm trying to get this image to sharpen a bit. Is that on the inner sleeve? Yeah, it's on the inner sleeve. Oh no, it's off. All right. These are double sleeved. Choked Estuary, Dimir Aqueduct, Temple of Deceit, River of Tears. This is a fun one. I actually like this thing. Cabal Coffers. I mentioned because of when I played Torment, I have kind of stock in those, so I have them in a lot of decks. Cabal Stronghold, Bajuka Bog, my favorite black utility land, Witch's Cottage. This is nice and useful, but it's not the worst thing in the world if it doesn't go off. Mr. Sanctuary again. So this has a little bit of recursion of instants and sorceries and non-zombies, unlike my black deck. So, that was helpful. Castle Vantress, scrying can be helpful. Westvale Abbey. I tend to make a lot of more tokens with this deck, and this is just a nice swingy transform, into Ormondal. His flying, lifelink, indestructible haste, and he's a 9/7. So this has worked for me in this deck far more than I thought it would. It was more of a novelty in the mono black deck because I ran Dark Depths in that deck, but that deck generates mana that Dark Depths actually works. Westvale sometimes. Reliquary Tower, again, good idea. Temple of the False God, Bad River, and Polluted Delta. So yeah, all my fetches have cracked, so whenever you see a fetch land, you're like, I thought you said this wasn't really a high cost mana base. I've cracked every fetch I've ever gotten, so yeah. Swamps, 3, 4, 8, 9, 10, 11. Yeah, so it's 11 swamps, I couldn't remember off the top of my head, and 4 islands. Heavily black favored, but most of my cards are at least black, not as much mono blue stuff. On to Planeswalker. Liliana, Waker of the Dead. Yeah, focus. I really love the -X/-X. And it's number of cards, not just zombies. So focus is really bad tonight. I apologize. So I really enjoy that one, that ability. Especially again, this being blue, it's got more sorceries, more non-creature spells. So the fact that it's cards really helps. Artifacts. Felden's Cane. Again, a way to just get my sorceries, my non-permanents back, which is more important in this deck than the last one. Soul Ring, of course. Dimir Signet. Cellar Door. I really like these, actually. Nailing myself or my opponent. This is great after a scry. Bontu's Monument. Sometimes I pay some life for various abilities, and this just, it's not the best thing in the world, but again, it helps. Because Casimire's Transmutation. Boy, do I like this thing. Sometimes when something, like I said with the Scarab God, when you've got an annoying recurring monster, especially a commander, because the commander will always go back to the command zone at worst, it's just nice to have a way to keep something on the field so it can't just be recast and also render it useless. Graph Harvest. Man, just 1 mana to give everything menace. I didn't think this was good for such a long time because I don't like exiling stuff in my own graveyard, which is ironic if you get to my Farrakha deck, But anyway, I don't like doing it normally, but just this thing has swung games for me, especially since we live in a world without fear or protection from whatever color. Liliana's Mastery. This might be one of my favorite zombie cards of all time. An Anthem, and it creates 2/3/3s. That's just, I love this card. Rooftop Storm. I'm gonna be honest, if you're running a blue zombie deck and this is not in your deck, why? This is why this deck exists. I love it. Bone Splinters. So there's way more, again, tokens, sacrificial lambs in this deck. So this was just a nice 1-drop. I love it. It usually pays off for me. I have my rig in front of me, so it's kind of a stretch. Literally a stretch. I'm not a comedian. So, classic 1 mana draw spells. Ponder. Portent, onto the sorceries. I really love Oblivion Strike. Since Commander, you can still encounter protection from black, stuff like that. I love the fact that this exiles and it's colorless, so this can get rid of almost anything. Rise from the Grave. It's just a fun little zombie spell. It turns, other things into zombies, and it's better than just a 4-mana zombify, because I can hit other opponents' creatures, and they get tribal payoffs. Ever after, this thing is fun. The fact that it actually gets to go to the bottom of the owner's library, it's just a nice spell to have. I won't always get it, but that also means I'm not afraid to scry it away. I'm not afraid to junk it if I have to. Decree of Pain, nice little board sweeper, because I don't have that many copies of Mutilate. Army of the Damned, another zombie card. I've never played this card and lost. I've never managed to get this card to go off and lost the game, ever. Dread Summons. This can hit me or my opponent, so it's nice to just annoy people. I love hitting one of these for a lot in this and my other zombie deck, and then casting Bajuka Bog. I love permanently getting rid of so much material, and then getting zombies out of it. Dark Salvation. The -1/-1, I mentioned this in my other zombie deck again. Here a lot of repeats. But the fact that this will actually nuke stuff like gods, indestructibility, I love that. Onto the instance, Brainstorm. Again, just cheap card value. Keep it going, keep it going. Lazotep Plating. I really like this combat trick because hexproof can be insane. That's just it. It's not much of an explanation, but it has worked. It's been so swingy in crucial moments, and people just don't expect this card. Classic counterspell. Feeding Frenzy. I love this card. I always worry sometimes that at 3 mana it's too much to cast, but again, I love it getting rid of indestructibles and stuff like that. No Escape. I love exiling spells instead of countering them. Creatures, I'll let hit the graveyard. Spells, I like to just get it. Planeswalkers especially, get them out of the game. Heroes Downfall, because this was the only copy they had when I bought this. Destroy a target creature or Planeswalker. Dissipate. The new art, foil, I love it. This actually replaced the copy of Cancel I had. Pretty sure this is one of only 2 things I immediately added to the deck. Undermine. Man, I loved this thing during Invasion Block. Cruel Revival, one of my favorite removal spells, especially for these decks. Silumgar's Command. So, again, bouncing something, destroying a Planeswalker. This is just fun utility up and down the board. I love it. Alright, so we're into the non-zombies. Alright. Ghoul Caller Gisa. My original commander of my mono black zombie deck until I realized I just never actually play her or put her onto the field. She was a way to turn my bigger, heavier monsters into a wide army if I needed it, and I just a lot of times never needed it. The little bit of lifelink that Liliana Heretical Healer / Defiant Necromancer gave me was just better than flipping her, creating a zombie. So I wished Gisa would have worked out as my commander better, but she just didn't. I was so anxious to get her as my commander that I bought the original 2014 Obnixilis deck for this card. Of course, had a lot of great stuff in that deck, so wish I could buy all 4 of those today, just for the medallions. Those went up in price. Her brother, Geralf, another great, just make tokens, and then exiling stuff, put into graveyards so I can just hit mine or my own stuff to get rid of them. It's just a nice swinging card. The Scarab God. What most people would say should be the commander of this deck. Just huge, huge bomb. Most people who play zombies, or at least were around for Hour of Devastation, know how horrifically powerful this is. It dies, return it to the hand, beginning of the next end step. Exile a card from a graveyard, put a 4/4 copy of it. Now, this is especially nice if you have something that's really weak with a powerful ability and just give it a +4/+4, or a +3/+3 if it's a 1/1. I love my opponent losing X and I scry. Again, scrying very huge for some of the cards in this deck. You know, this is a lot about judging what can come next. You know what I mean? So he really fits everything. Having Gold Runebinder, you know, I really love the idea that if this is not a card I need all the time, but sometimes this will just add to the army and make combat decisions really annoying for my opponent. Also, sometimes just having him on the board, people will really target him for removal instead of things they probably should be targeting just because they're afraid of what's going to happen with this guy. Necromaster Dragon. You know, a very good successor to, like, the Primevals. You know, the 5 Invasion Dragon Lords. Combat damage, pay something, get something. You know, milling and zombies. I approve. Also, a flyer. Some of the blue stuff in this deck, you know, flying. And the last non-zombie card, the Grave Titan. We always forget it's a giant, not a titan. Just, man, I love this thing. No, it's not ban-worthy like Sundering or Primeval, but man, I love getting this thing going. Just getting it onto the board is bad. Attacking with it's even worse for everybody. The best non-zombie zombie card aside from Rooftop Storm. Yeah. And now on to the zombies. Gravecrawler, just the iconic classic. Cabal Interrogator. You know, I like being able to just look at the opponent's hand, picking stuff, or just gaining information. Bone Knitter, because people sometimes forget how Regenerate works, and that really works to my advantage. The Eternal Taskmaster. I like just attacking and getting value out of this thing. Again, there's going to be sack outlets, so if I don't have just the Gravecrawler that I can just cast and cast and cast, I like the idea that I can just return stuff. You know, also, you know, whenever he attacks, play 3, return. Recurring a certain supposed 6-drop can be very brutal. This is the other new card I added because as soon as I heard about it, I said I need it. Just a 2/3 for 2, and then it gets the little attack pump. I love it. I needed this card in here. Lord of the Accursed, again, the menace is nice when I need it, and the pump is nice. I underrated this Lord so much at first. Vizier of Scorpions. This is just mean. I produce enough tokens with this deck that I really like giving them Death Touch. If he said all zombies, he'd make my other deck. Lord of the Undead, you know, every zombie deck should run this guy. Cemetery Reaper. I like the fact that I get the token regardless, and I can nail other people's graveyards. And the buff is obviously nice. I'm sure this isn't very good. I'm sure this is not very good. But the first time I drafted one in a Phoenix deck, this thing alone won me so many games. I have such a personal attachment to this thing. And it flies. It's a flying zombie. You know, a lot of people seem to hate the inspired mechanic, but I like it. And this is not the greatest inspired mechanic in the world, but I'm sure this isn't as good as I think it is, but I love this card. Diagraph Captain. I love the idea of my stuff dying and just stacking up the life loss. You know, Death Touch and +1/+1s. This is just a fun, great card. Prized Amalgam. You know, just the ability to just return him, you know, to the battlefield. He's just annoying. And again, sack outlets he works with. Gleaming Overseer. You know, tokens have hexproof and menace. So this guy can be really annoying. You know, the only problem is with the hexproof is that oftentimes you're going to want to hit something other than a token with like a removal spell. So you're probably going to hit this guy anyway. But still, the menace is nice. And producing a token with the Amass if you don't have one. I wanted Amass to be so much better than it was. And I knew it was terrible. Zombie Trailblazer. Insta Swamp Walk. I've won so many games in so many different formats with this guy's abilities. Grave Defiler, you know, 2 cards that, you know, a card that was in my zombie deck before it was my zombie deck. You know, I was gifted an Apocalypse Golgari zombie deck that became my mono black zombie deck, which with Torment and then Onslaught block, you know, just improved and improved and improved. So, like, you know, this guy, he was added in Torment, Putrid Imp before, you know, Festering Goblin, which was before Festering Mummy, you know. Those were all in my Apocalypse era deck. Vengeful Dead, you know, just tacking on that life loss. Soulless One, again, playing a board wipe, zombies hit the graveyards, and then this guy comes out as an overpowered monster. I love this thing. When I first got into Commander, it was heartbreaking to think I can only run 1 of these. I love to run 4. Laboratory Drudge. You know, I just love this thing. You know, casting cards from graveyards, stuff like that. Just, that runs perfectly with Gisen Geralf's ability. Undead Alchemist. You know, milling and then tokens. I just love this. I love how this works. And exiling stuff, you know. Undead War Chief, the foil I got from my Time Spell Remastered box. Again, another quintessential zombie card. Phyrexian Delver. Now it's a Phyrexian. I gotta see if it's still a zombie. Everything with Phyrexian, they added Phyrexian too. So I gotta see if this guy still counts. But I just love the idea that I get a nice little 3/2 and a resurrection spell. And, you know, proportionate to what I resurrect. I hated this thing in 60 card Magic, but with 40 life in Commander, I love it. Dread Slaver. You know, this thing doesn't always hit, but when it does, it's just really annoying for my opponents. You know, it's black and a zombie, so everything it brings back gets tribal payoffs. Grimgrin Corpseborn. All right, we're up to the 5 drops now, I realize. You know, tapped and doesn't untap. So, you know, again, here's one of those sack outlets, or one of those sack payoffs that I absolutely love. Having Ghoul Lich, you know, casting graveyards from turn. You know, that'll draw your cards. That'll do all sorts of stuff, you know. You know, so there's a lot more synergies with specific cards in this deck versus my mono black zombie deck. You know, I love the idea of all the abilities I can get on this thing. My foil Gravespawn Sovereign. Speaking of things I cracked back in Onslaught. You know, the number of tokens really lets this shine. You know, going wide is huge with this deck, so this and, you know, like Westvale Abbey, that kind of stuff really hits hard with this. Newsgraph Mob. This was just one of those, didn't quite make the cut of my original zombie deck, but I like the idea of it. So, you know, just bleeding 2/2 tokens. Love the concept. And you already saw the last card. Gem Palm Polluter. Whew, this monster. Again, cycling him is just one of my favorite things to do. Let's see where all my cards landed up. Oh, I think I only lost a couple. So, mana base. And my zombies. My non-zombies. Artifacts, my very few auras, my very few enchantments, instants, and sorceries. Again, you can just see the amount of instants and sorceries versus, like, my other decks. It's just not even close. Where'd my Liliana go? Oh, maybe she fell. All right, I'll get her. Yeah, you got your non-permanent spells. So, unfortunately, this deck doesn't have quite the same swingy feel of the big X spells of my other zombie deck. And, you know, this was definitely more of a novelty. It's slowly improving into more of a threat. You know, but I think the mana base alone will tell you this was not the most swingy bestial deck I've ever made. By a long shot. Yeah, Liliana fell somewhere. Oh, no, she didn't. She was under the pile of all the mana. So there's my mana. Zombies. Non-zombies. Enchantments. Sorceries. I really thought I was about to lose. Oh, Isa. Instants. Artifacts. And Planeswalker. So, this is going to be interesting because, again, if you were just here for the deck tech, that was the deck. Thank you for joining me, and I'm going to try and do the bundle opening soon. You know, if you've actually been keeping up with the previews and stuff and you know what's in this deck, you know, thank you for joining me thus far. Yeah, other than that, I'm about to see this deck for the first time. Eloise Nephalia Sleuth. Whenever a creature dies, investigate. Ooh, clue tokens. And you surveil when you clue. Ooh, nice. I like this card. Maybe not for a zombie deck, but I do like this. All right, well, you know, obviously will help the Rock Cleaver. You know, if a zombie dies, if it doesn't have Decayed, creates a Decayed monster. You know, you may sacrifice a zombie for cards. Nice idea. Not sure where I'm going with it, though. I don't have enough room, so I'm just going to stack that up. Put a little on top. So like I said, right now I'm going to run through the deck. Just check out, you know, creature ratio, mana base. Darn it, these were all in order, I'm sure. Alright, so Distant Melody, draw. Ooh, I like that. That's a nice one. Is this a reprint from, talking about Una, is this a reprint from, like, Morningtide or Lorwyn? Charcoal Diamond, you know. Commander Sphere, alright, Sky Diamond, Requisite Soul Ring, Talisman of Dominance, ooh, nice. I keep wondering if I should start really running these. I might add that. Bajuka Bog, alright, this deck clearly understands what it's supposed to do. Command Tower, Dimir Aqueduct, Mortuary Mire. This is something I might add to this deck. Myriad Landscape, Path of Ancestry. Oh, there's something I didn't think about this. All right. It's not a bad mana base. Tainted Isle. Haha, mine's Original Torment. Unclaimed Territory. Nice little not Cavern of Souls. Eternal Skylord. Actually, I really like this. I should add this to more decks I have. You know, that's by no means a bad card. I'm very impressed. I always forget it exists, unfortunately. Everybody remembers the Hexproof or the Uncounterable of Cavern. Eternal Skylord, Amass 2. I remember this guy. Zombie tokens have flying. Oh, that's another. There's one I might actually consider. Corpse Augur. I know this thing. You know, draw cards, lose X. Creature cards entire player's graveyard. I think that's been in multiple multiple precons by this point. Feed the Swarm. Can't argue with more Feed the Swarm. Every black deck should run it. Go for the Throat. Ooh, removal's really good in this deck. All right. You know, without the instants. Fleshbag Marauder. I'm sure I'll get in a game where this actually works for me. It just never does. You know, I always hear it's a commander staple of black decks and zombie decks, but it just never, ever times out right for me. So I never play it, you know. That was a card I was excited to play, and then it never worked, and I ended up cycling it out of, like, every deck it was in. Liliana's Devotee. You know, creature died, pay 2. Like, this is something I should really think about. That this I really like. I'm impressed. I forgot about it when it came out, but, you know, it's really nothing to sneeze at. Lord of the Accursed. Some familiar faces. Spark Reaper. Sacrifice a creature, gain life and draw, or a planeswalker. Gain life and draw a card. I'd love to know a situation where sacrificing that planeswalker is actually good. For 3 mana, I'm not sure I like it, but it's not terrible. Siphon Flesh. Ah, the Siphon set. Siphon Mind, Siphon Soul, you know. I like this actually better than Fleshbag. Even if it's a little expensive. I'll see how that works. I'm hoping at some point to get one of my friends who plays Magic to play this deck against my Dimir deck. We'll do a game where, like, I control my deck, he controls this deck, and vice versa. We'll see what happens. You know, I'm not going to change, I'm not going to, like, shred this precon for my normal deck until I do that. I'll see if I can do that on camera. I think it'd be really fun. Whenever Undead Augur or another zombie you control dies, you draw a card and lose 1 life. 2/2, that's kind of better than the Undead Avenger or Vengeful Dead. Kind of like that. Way more. Diagraph Captain, Gleaming Overseer. You know, some familiar faces. Ruthless Deathfang. Whenever you sacrifice a creature, target opponent sacrifice a creature. Ooh, man. I have thoughts about this, not just for this deck, but for some other decks too. Ooh, I like that. And again, a 4/4 flyer with that ability. I'm not going to complain. Oh, Arcane Signet. Forgot that. Huh. I don't think I ever thought to add the Signet to this deck. Huh. There's something I'll add. There's something I'll definitely add. I might add that, not this one. Cleaver Scob. Sacrifice another zombie. Create 2 copies of the sacrificed creature. This feels like it could get mean under the right circumstances. I'm intrigued. Curse of Unbinding. Beginning each chair and player's upkeep. This player reveals cards at the top of their library until they reveal a creature card. Put that card in control. The rest in their graveyard. Oof. I am so on the fence about that card. I feel like if I don't have I don't want to waste my only Feed the Swarm to get rid of it if it's completely milling me out. But yee. Drown in Dreams. Alright, so I've heard that this is like the most valuable card in this deck. I heard the name, and I was told it was considered the most expensive card. So maybe that's true, maybe it's not. So let's see what it actually does. Choose one. Control Commander, cast both. Okay. Draw X cards, mills twice X. Alright, I want this for my Phoenix deck. Like, I want to suture this out for my Phoenix deck. Empty the laboratory. Sacrifice X zombies, reveal cards from the top of your library until you reveal the number of zombies. Ooh. Battlefield, the rest on the bottom of your library. This is fascinating. That is fascinating. That is situational. I kind of feel like that's more of a sideboard card, but I like it. Howling Scab. Is this guy a reprint? Looks familiar. Other zombies you can control flying. Ooh, now that's fun. Man, the blue zombies are getting fun. Once I've decided, once I've played a couple of games with these 2 decks, I definitely want to add some of these to my black deck. This is like an auto include. Whenever one of the zombies deals combat damage, draw cards. Ooh. Discard that many cards. Ouch. Ugh. Alright. Fill up the graveyard with zombies. I like to loot on my terms. Shadowkin. Each player mills 3 cards. Each of your upkeep, each player mills 3 cards. You may exile a card among them. Shadowkin becomes a copy of that card, except it has this ability. I don't think that's for this deck. Crowded Crypt. Creature control dies, put a corpse counter on Crowded Crypt. Sacrifice Crowded Crypt. Create a 2/2 black zombie for every corpse counter. I feel like I'd want this to be good, but I'd wait so long for this thing to pay off that it'll just sit on the board, and by the time I've played it, it's either bad or I wasted too much and I spent too much time trying to power it out. Whenever a land enters the battlefield or enchanted players control, 2/2 black zombie with Decayed. Ooh, that's mean. I'm down with that one. Ghoul's Night Out. Oh, Gisa. For each player, choose a creature card in that player's graveyard. Those cards on the battlefield are under your control. They're black zombies. Addition, colors and types, and they have Decayed. So far, this deck has really surprised me. I was worried all the new stuff was going to be all in on the Decayed mechanic, which I was kind of like, meh, but I'm actually really happy. This is probably going to be an auto-include in my blue deck. In other words, my B-team deck. Because, man, if they didn't just have Decayed, it would have been an auto-include. Automatic. But it has Decayed, and I'm like, I'm just I'm not sure I'm a fan. I like my tokens to stick around. As an additional cost to cast this spell, you may exile any number of creature cards from your graveyards. Spell costs 2 less for each card exiled this way. So basically, Delve. Let's see. Death Touch. When attacks with dies, choose a card random. Exile and put the card in its owner's hand. Wow. Okay. That's interesting. I don't know. I just don't know. I can't decide if I love or hate that thing, and that's kind of intriguing. This is going to be I'm interested to play this precon now. I didn't know what was going to be in here. Again, I was worried it was going to be all in on Decayed. Oh, sure. Now that text is perfectly readable. Prowling Geist Catcher. Sacrifice another creature, exile it. If it was a token, put a +1/+1. Whenever it leaves the battlefield, return each card exiled with it. I like these. I like sacrificing and getting it back. These two cards, I'm down with them. Ravenous Rotbelly. I'm sure it's cousin the Rotlung Reanimator. Appreciates the name. Sacrifice 3 zombies. When you sacrifice 1 more zombies this way, when it sacrifices that many creatures. Feels very situational. I just don't know. I don't know. Tomb Tyrant. Zombie Noble. I feel like this should have been like a Kaldheim card. Zombie Noble. Sacrifice a creature, return a zombie card at random from the graveyard of the battlefield. Only during your turn if only there are at least 3 in your graveyard. Huh. Interesting. Now, this feels like I could actually get a nice combo cycle going, like trying to sacrifice and bring back some zombies with some genuine, powerful enter the battlefield effects. This makes Buried Alive mean. If Buried Alive isn't in this deck, I might add it to this deck, because that's nice. Aether Sprouts, it's our puts some. Okay, that's a nice little blue, a blue defense spell. I'll take it. I'm trying not to spend too much time on these, but geez, I did not do my research intentionally. So you may discard all cards in your hand and draw the many cards. If only you were black or red, That'd be an auto include in my Anjay Falkenroth deck. Havengul Runebinder, they're familiar with that. Hour of Eternity, Exile. For each one you do the 4/4 thing from Hour of Devastation. Not bad. Not probably my favorite thing to do, but definitely not bad. Rooftop Storm. Guess I'm not surprised. Stitcher Derolf. All right. There he is. Well, now I have two of these guys. Cool. Undead Alchemist, another familiar face. The quintessential swingy bomb of zombie decks. Again, when I say I've never lost a game that I've been able to cast that card, speaks for itself. Butcher of Malakir. He's not in my deck, or my blue deck, but he's in one of my zombie decks. Cemetery Reaper, there's a classic. Dark Salvation, starting to see some definitely wonderful familiar faces here. Death Baron, that's in my other zombie deck. Now that I have a second, I might upgrade Diagraph Colossus, that's in my other zombie deck. Dread Summons, again, feeling good that this deck seems to have the same ideas as my deck. Dreadhorde Invasion, one life in amass one. Even if it was just 1/1 tokens, I think I'd like amass much more if it wasn't just like one zombie army token. But still, I don't know. The second ability, I'm so torn on this. I'm so torn on that ability. Again, I wanted amass to be much better than it was. Eater of Hope. That sounds familiar. Where did this guy show up? Gods can be appeased. Demons, however. Let's see. Sacrifice another creature. Regenerate. Yeah. I know that's a repeat. I think Theros? Endless Ranks of the Dead. I actually have been trying to track down a copy of this. This is probably getting stripped from my main mono black zombie deck because I've been looking for this card. It's been hard to find recently. All right. I take it back. That I might have to take that out of this deck. I know what I'm looking for. So close to the end here. So all right. So Choked Estuary, familiar. Catacombs, familiar. Exotic Orchard. Sunken Hollow. I like the fact that I can actually fish for another Swamper Island. That's something I'll take for the new deck. Temple of Deceit, always nice. I like that art. So, I just took a brief look at the rest of the deck, and there is no Buried Alive in here. So, I'll probably take Endless Ranks of the Dead for my other deck, and I will probably add in a copy of Buried Alive from my collection. I have enough Odyssey. Look who it is. Nice. So, I do like that edge border that they do with the Legends now, where it's along their colors. Still, I'm keeping my original because I love my original. I was happy when I cracked it, but nice to see them here. Gravespawn Sovereign. I'm glad I'm not the only person who remembers that thing. Oh, wow, Liliana. I didn't expect to see a Planeswalker in here. And it's one that I've considered for that deck. This and Dreadhorde General, just plus ability, and you get a token. There is nothing wrong with that. So I've been considering this for a while in this deck. So Liliana's Mastery, there we go. I'm actually really happy to see this. This is a well-built deck. Midnight Reaper, I know that guy. He's in my 60-card zombie deck. Open the Graves. Whenever a non-token creature control dies, create a 2/2 black zombie without Decayed. Ooh, that art. It was a night like any other. It would soon become a night no one would ever forget. Overseer of the Damned. This is in my demon deck. Oh, nice art for Zombie Apocalypse. There will come a day so dark when you pray for death. On that day, your prayers will be answered. Nice. Good old Zombie Apocalypse, because I don't think I have one in that deck. So, So what do I think? At the end of the day, what do I think? I like the deck. I think this deck, interestingly, the most telling sign to me is that I haven't put effort into this deck like my other zombie deck. So I can just sense the difference in like the little things, like the anemones, my mana rocks. I don't have Arcane Signet or Talisman of Dominance. I'm really curious to see how this works. I'm not going to strip this deck until I played a few games, minus Endless Ranks of the Dead, because that's been a card I've been chasing. But, you know, the removal is spot on, you know. I run Bone Splinters, I run, like, you know, what did I say? Hero's Downfall, but, you know, this is a nice cheap go for the throat. This Drowning Dreams card, not for this deck, but I have plans for this. You know, for each creature its owner puts on the top of the bottom of its owner's library. That's a nice little get out of jail card. You know, a desperation move. You know, obviously my access to better cards. But I think that there's more of a consistent idea with this deck. You know, I've got no escape. You know, I could probably sacrifice one or two of my other counter spells. You know, probably no escape or undermine. I really like dissipate. For some of the other instants like that one. But like I said, I'm sensing a lack of focus versus their deck that's very focused. You know, Zombie Apocalypse, Tread something. So these are just straight up familiar faces here. Hour of Eternity. I don't know. I don't know if this deck can reach that kind of mana. Ghoul's Night Out, again, if you did not have that little Decayed, this would be such an auto-include. Oh, it's not even funny. Empty the Laboratory. I'm interested to play with it and see how that works. I have images of it working. I just don't know if that'll be the actual case. Feed the Swarm. I need that for this deck for artifacts and stuff. And this Distant Melody card, I really like it. I feel like it's a Lorwyn reprint, but I don't remember. You know, somebody tell me if I'm wrong about that. So, I feel like the swingy stuff is more swingy, but, you know, my access to better cards overall, it's, you know, I'm not trying to make a precon, you know. I think mine carries just a little bit more power, although I don't have the same caliber of high-powered zombies in my other decks. I feel like these decks are on par creature strength-wise. Open the Graves. I feel like that's going to be useful sometimes and not useful others. Endless Ranks of the Dead. I love this thing. I love this card. I love just auto increasing my army. Dreadhorde Invasion. Don't know how useful it's going to actually be. Rooftop Storm, of course. That earns its keep just by existing. Curse of the Restless Dead. This is going to be fun. This might be worth my big zombie deck. This deck or my other zombie deck. Curse of Unbinding. I need to playtest this thing. I'm so curious. I feel like I could win and lose games because of it. I mixed my decks. No. Not what I wanted to do. You know, I obviously don't have the same versatility. You know, I have Mastery, I have Storm. I like Graph Harvest for the widespread menace. You know, obviously, because I have other decks, I didn't commit to this mana base that much, or my mana base, so Path of Ancestry is something I should probably have in there. Mortuary Mire sounds really good. Unclaimed Territory, you know, yeah. Maybe the Exotic Orchards, definitely the Sunken Hollow, stuff that can be fetched up with my 2 fetch lands, that's always good. Decent balance of swamps and islands. You know. I don't know who wins on the mana base game. You know, I think my sorceries and instants, I think I have a little bit more power, or a little less power, but more consistency. I feel like theirs is a bit more all over the place. This is saved, you know, the -3 is awesome, but, you know, I think creating a token is just might be better, even if it's more expensive by one. So I think that deck wins on the Planeswalker battle. You know, the zombies. Man, let's try and wrap this video up. I was trying not to be too long because I didn't want to create an hour-long video, but man, again, you know, people who were here just for the deck tech, they probably left already. You know, the rest of y'all, I warned you. You know, I didn't think I was going to ramble this much. You know, but there's actually a surprising amount of non-zombies in here. So, you know, I'm happy that I'm seeing a lot of familiar faces, so I feel as if I have my finger decently on the pulse of what a good zombie deck, blue-black zombie deck should be, although I don't quite share the same enthusiasm for some of these top-end demons. Liliana's Devotee, I want to see if it's good enough to really run. Just not having the Decayed Mechanic really pushes it for me. I really like it more than I used to now. This thing, again, I like the idea of stealing and returning. Shadowkin, maybe not this deck. Have go Room Bindering, obviously. Gießen, Geralf. Eloise. I kind of want this either in my Phoenix deck, or even more importantly, I'm probably going to take this out for my Nico Bolas Grixis Commander deck. This is the kind of thing that deck would love. Ruthless Deathfang. This is probably going in my other this zombie deck, my blue-black one. I like this. Sack outlets, and then just this thing punishing everybody. You know, this just turns into innocent blood and just oof. And it's a 4/4 flyer. You know, Butcher Knock here. I know it from other decks. Too top curvy for what I want. I see why I might want to run this. A 6/4 and also the destroy target creatures, and it doesn't have to tap to do it. It needs a bunch of sacrificial fodder, and I'm sure this deck and my deck can provide. But I just don't know. I thought my camera rig was about to go over. Eventually, I feel like I would just have tokens dying a lot, and it just wouldn't pay off. The problem is, whenever it specifies non-token, I always get really antsy. You know, I always, yeah, but, so I'm a little unsure. So, as far as the non-creatures, the non-zombies go, I like the big dragon, I like Leon as Devotee, but honestly, I think I got this beat. You know, I love Geese's versatility. The Scarab God and Grave Titan, just, you know, they do it. Necromaster Dragon is a good little 4/4 for 5, not 6, and it still produces tokens, but I think I won in that regard. I don't know what to say about the mana bases, though. I'm so up in the air about that. But again, I know I haven't committed to really making it a high-class mana base. So, knowing that, you know, I have to kind of lower my expectations and say, yeah, I'm probably not going to be that good. For that reason, you know. It's actually a much more interesting deck than I expected it to be. Again, I was so afraid everything was going to have Decayed, and I'm going to be like this. I didn't like all of the Kaldheim Zombies being stapled to the snow mechanic. you know, I at least wanted a few things that would be independent of it, and that ruined something I really wanted to love. I loved I loved the flavor, I loved the idea going in, but then when every single zombie card I was interested in was stapled to snow, I was like, oh man, you're killing me. So the Augur, another one I really almost want in my real zombie deck. Spark Reaper, yeah, you know, Lord, useful. Flesh Bag, useful to everybody but me. Diagraph I got at Midnight Reaper is in another deck of mine. You know, Death Baron. You know, here are 4 solid cards that are in my deck. Corpse Augur came originally in my Grixis Mindseize deck from Javella, Nephalia's Scourge. Hey, another tidy Innistrad. This guy. Can't think right now, but I feel like there's combo potential with this guy. This, unsure. Undead Alchemist, obviously. Cleaver Scob, again. This has potential. I can't wait to play test him. Will Health, the Commander. You know, we've seen, you know, sacrificing 3 zombies, making everybody else sacrifice. I feel like this is going to lose or break moderately even more than it's going to win. Zombie tokens have Skylord. If I can make enough zombie tokens, then all my zombies have flying. Now we're talking. This is probably going in that deck. Sovereign, I'm happy. Gorex the Tomb Shell. This is going to be interesting. I don't know how he's going to really fit into the grand scheme of things. So my curve is lower. My curve is much lower. So I think if these went at it, I think my little bit of counter magic and my draw spells, I'd probably win. I'll see if my buddy Drew and I can get together and film. If he's not comfortable being on camera, then I'll at least report the results. I'm really interested to see how these 2 decks will stack up. So, you know, I think this thing can hit, might be able to hit a little harder, but I think mine can hit faster and maybe a little better. So, hopefully I'm going to come back in a couple days with some results. Like I said, maybe some actual games I can play on cam. I got to see what I can do with that. Man, this video is just short of an hour. I apologize for rambling so much. So, all in all, just that I think mine hits a little faster, more consistently, and I have the Scarab God. This, you know, I think this one can hit a little more swingy, but I think it's going to be a little less inconsistent. Those are my opening thoughts before any games are played. So, thank you guys for joining me. This was I have no idea how I'm actually going to do this video. I've been anticipating and dreading it in equal measure, and now it's done. Thank you guys so much for joining me again. You know, I'm really trying to dedicate myself to this channel more and more, see what I can do with it, and at some point I'm gonna, you know, just see what comes next. More deck techs. I'm gonna have the bundle opening in a few days, and I'll let you guys know what I have planned when I have the plans, or rather, when I solidify my plans. So, thank you guys for joining me. This was awesome. This was fun. It's ridiculous in the morning, and I gotta get to bed. So, again, thank you so much for taking the time out of your day to watch my channel. I hope you guys had fun, because I did too. And that's all I got for today. Good night, guys.